we are supposed to have two speakers for today, but Mr. Joseph just sent me an SMS now that he won't be available again because he has an engagement and he has not gotten home, so he's not prepared. So probably Mr. Joseph will talk to us next week. So that leaves us with just one speaker. So now, without further interruption, I would like to introduce our speaker for today, Madam Yetunde. She's one of us. She's a counselor. I've been opportune to be in one or two of her classes, and it's been very, very interesting. She's an epitome of knowledge, so I would urge you all to pay attention to what she says. So she's going to be talking to us about keeping your sanity in times like this. So just listen and ask questions after our talk. So Madam Yetunde, you have the floor now.
Thank you very much, Emmanuel. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I see all our familiar names. Nice to have you this evening. Today, I'll be talking about keeping your sanity in times like this. I'm sure we know that the times we're in now is very peculiar. This year has been very, very challenging for a lot of us. You know, the pandemic, COVID-19 brought about a lot of changes, uncertainties, and a lot of things did happen. So it has been a little bit challenging for people to be able to deal with times that we are in. Part of the times we are in is what we are doing today, a Zoom meeting. A lot of people before pandemic never knew what Zoom was, even though Zoom had been around. We have more become techie, changes of all kinds, both good and bad. So we'll just quickly look at challenges that people are facing in times like this. And then we will go on to how we can, help people, whether ourselves as counselors or even our clients. So let's look at various challenges that people are facing in these times. The first one on my list is finances. For a lot of people, finances, even though we also recognize that a lot of people, or not maybe a lot, that's generalization. I mean, somewhat number of people are also making money, but a chunk of people have their finances depleted during these times. Finances are dwindling. Why? Because people are not making as much money as they used to. Businesses are shutting, businesses are closed. And despite all of that, items are getting more expensive. We see that recently the dollar increase and, adequate resources are we are not being able to access adequate resources. So we find that financial challenge has been a major issue for a lot of people during this time. Another challenge that people are facing this time is relationship. So relational challenges, both mostly marriages. You find that people on the edge, everyone is cranky, tension at home. Why? Due to the general uncertainty in the society. This is putting and mounting pressure on people. There's the challenge of job loss. You find that quite a number of people have lost their job. This has led to lack of, for people who had good jobs, your job gives you relevance because you are kind of solving one problem or the other. And if they have to say, oh, you have to go, then it brings about lack of relevance to people, especially this hit a lot of men, So you find that your job loss has brought you lack of relevance at home, maybe within the family, amongst friends, you find yourself recalling back because you have lost your job. You find the challenge of spiritual dwindling, even in people. Why? There's no more meeting place. We don't have a physical, we don't go to the church physically to meet, or we don't go to the mosque physically to meet. and this affects, the time we spend in his presence. Hence, we lack strength. There is no place to draw strength from or face certain situations of life. Yes, I also know that for some people, it has also built strength for them because they even have more time. That's if you are not facing or dwelling on, the losses that you have gone through. For other people, it's complete loss of their business. Their businesses have completely been lost. Nothing has, happened for them. Businesses like event centers have been closed, shut down completely. Nothing has happened. So businesses like that have lost revenue, even though they are still paying rent. So there are people who have, they have the challenge of loss of rent because they have paid ahead, they did not open the businesses. So it's been a challenge and it's bringing pressure for them. For some people, they have lost their home. They can't pay their rent, they can't continue with their mortgage. And so, these are kinds of challenges people face in time. Some people, it is health challenges from minor challenges, health challenges to major health challenges. Some people can't even pay for school fees. We see on the school meeting, everybody's talking about a pay cut concerning school fees. Schools are not willing. They say they've been on the net and they have paid for it. So a lot of challenge that people are facing at times like this. So the question is, how do you keep your sanity through all of this? Certainly, anyone that is going through all of this will be going through a level of pressure. So how do we cope during these times? How do we cope through all of, some of the things that I've mentioned? This brings us to what is coping. What is coping? Coping means to invest one's own conscious effort to solve a personal or an interpersonal problem in order to try to either master that problem, minimize the problem, or tolerate the stress and conflict that this problem brings into our lives. So coping is a conscious effort. Coping is a conscious effort on our own side to resolve personal or interpersonal issues or problems or issues that we face. So it is a conscious thing that we decide to do when we say that we want to be able to deal with situations by whatever kind of coping mechanisms or strategies that we want to use. So what do I, it brings me to what I just wrote briefly here. I said that, when we are faced with so much challenges, we have to learn to handle one challenge per time. It's not good to try and say, oh, I want to sort out all my challenges at a time, because sometimes we face 2, 3, 4 of these challenges, or our clients walk into our situation. A client facing anxiety comes to you and what is causing anxiety. Some of them don't even know. But by the time you talk with them, you're able to recognize the fact that, oh, they lost their job, So of course, when you lose your job, finances is not coming in, really your relationship is affected with your wife. So some of these things, they are ripple effect. Another thing that we also know is, at part time, let's not put too much on our plates. One thing that we must also recognize is, let's learn to choose our battles. You cannot have 2, 3 battles at the same time. It is not wise to have so many battles that you face at all times. So choose your battle. Why do I say choose your battle? When we battle, when we face challenges, a lot of these things, go through our minds, because before we even sit down to say, okay, how do I want to resolve it? Or even going through it, you are going through it in your mind. You are tossing the situation in your mind. You are thinking about it. How do I solve it? So it has to do with the mind. And we ought to know that a sick mind is a sick life. So we are not supposed to put too much on the plate of our mind. You will find out that when you have unresolved issues with someone, it affects how you feel. And when you don't feel well, you don't behave well. So our mind is the battleground is the field that, battles do occur, whether in thinking, whether in resolve. There's nothing that you want to physically resolve that you will not first go through it in your mind. So the health of the mind is the key job of the counselor. What do? We all try, all of us, all we want to do is help somebody keep their mind healthy, because we know that once their mind is healthy, they can think right. Once you can think rationally, you can think right, then you can certainly feel well and obviously behave well. So the health of the mind is the key job of the counselor. Hence, we need to make sure we think right so that our emotions will be balanced and we can behave right, ourselves or our client. And that is why we said that our main job is the health of the mind. So how do we want to deal with the, the, the issues or challenges that I've spoken about that we know? These are day-to-day things that we are faced with. Some of the challenges are even loss of loved ones. A lot of people have also lost their loved ones at this time, maybe to COVID or to health challenges. So to keep your sanity in all that is going on is something that you have to put your conscious effort to do. How do we want to put conscious effort to solving all that we are going through in times like this? Or how do we want to use, conscious effort to help our clients to be able to solve these issues or challenges that we are facing at these trying times? We are going to look at certain coping mechanisms for life, or coping strategy. And there are basically two coping strategies. There is also, so let's talk about the two coping strategies. Then we'll also talk about the relaxation strategy. Sometimes in counseling, you find that the very easy things are the things that people, clients find difficult to do, including even us. A relaxation technique such as exercise, as easy as it is, it's difficult for us to do. For us to keep up with exercising every day, even though we know it's good for our mental health, we find that every time you do that, oxygen tends to pour into our brain. So our brains are oxygenated, and so we think better, we feel better, the whole body feels better. Once that can circulate well, we know it, but do we do it? We don't. So we are going to look at basic relaxation techniques, and we are going to look at coping strategies that are good for us in times like this. And so let's look at two basic coping strategies. The first one is the problem-focused strategy. Problem-focused strategy. And that is, so let me just say the two, then I'll pick it one after the other. So the first one is sorry, I was trying to see the person's chat. So the first one is problem-focused strategy. So a problem-focused strategy is one strategy that focuses on the problem itself. So you beam your light on the problem, and you try to solve this problem. How can you do that? Like I said, if you have a client who comes to you, or even you yourself are going through anxiety, so to say. So somebody walks up to you and, going through anxiety, and you say, what is the cause of the anxiety? And they don't even know. So, and you just begin to speak, and during, exploration or listening, adequate listening, you find out that, like I said earlier, they have lost their job, finances is deeply affecting the relationship, they can't pay school fees, relational issues. So a lot of things are going on. Now, what I've just said is one issue has birthed like 5 issues. And so you want to help the person to say, you know what, let's put these things down. What will be the easiest, what will be the first thing Prioritize. Okay, how do you want to see it? If this one is the most heaviest on your mind, if we are able to solve this, so you get better and, begin to do all of that. So you can do like a map minding and, help the person. So for problem focused strategy, you are focusing on the problem itself, and you are trying to you are trying to get your clients or yourself to solve that problem completely. Now, the second coping strategy is the emotion-focused strategy. What does this one do? This one is dealing with your feelings instead of your problems. So this strategy helps you to deal with your feelings instead of your problems. So what you want to do is deal with the feelings, and you know that as you deal with whatever you are feeling, it will ultimately help you solve whatever you are going through. Now, both of these have ways in which you can do it. How do you want to do it? You can do active coping, or you can also do avoidant coping. So that is also another way that we find people deal with all the challenges or some of the challenges that I've listed above. You find out that some people actively cope, with their problems. How do they do it? This involves acknowledging that there is a problem and working on reducing or eliminating the problem completely. So with active coping, you already acknowledge, oh, okay, this is what I am facing. What do I want to do? I'm going to acknowledge it, that there's a problem, and I'm going to find a way to work to reduce it or eliminate it completely. That is active coping. Now, for the avoidant coping, what you do in that situation, or what a lot of people, and we see a lot of people display avoidant coping a lot. We sweep things under the carpet, we deny it, and we just make it look like it's not there. So for avoidant coping, what we do is we ignore or avoid the problem completely. Most people who do things like this stay in denial or repress the situation or sweep it under the carpet. And so they avoid it completely as if it is not there. Now, okay, so maybe I should just do I'll just do other types of coping mechanisms that we can use to, that we see people use, or we can use to face daily life situations. Like I said, the topic being keeping with times like this. Times are challenging. For people who are just joining, we just said that people are going through a lot of challenges at this time: financial challenge, relational challenge, loss of job. People are losing their job. How do they cope? Spiritual dwindling. The mosque and the church was not open for a long time. People run there for safety. That did not happen. So they did not have where to draw strength from. People lost their businesses. People lost their home. They couldn't pay rent. They couldn't keep up with mortgage. People faced health challenges, both minor and major. People lost loved ones to death, and people lost, their rents. They had rented places and said, okay, for this 1 year, I'm going to do this. Now you are locked up your business and no income is coming in, and you are made to pay, or you are paid upfront. So we're talking about how people, various things that people faced in this time of this, how we have found ourselves, the pandemic period, the COVID-19 situation. It's a time we've not gone through before. And so different people are using different coping mechanisms. And we are just talking about what we can use, what is best, that we can use. So we are going to also look at different types of other coping mechanisms aside from the ones we have talked about. And, we have almost 8 to 10 different types. I'll just quickly mention them so that we go into the other simpler things that work for us, that, we don't even put our minds to. So let's look at different types of other coping mechanisms to handle life situations that we go through. Number one is the adaptive mechanism. Adaptive mechanism. And this one is we're having the positive outlook you to effectively deal, with whatever situation or stress that situation is bringing on you. We also have the attack mechanism. The attack mechanism is one that, helps us to displace, the stress we are going through by just, attacking whatever that, we think is the cause of the problem that we are facing. We have the avoidance mechanism, similar to the avoidant coping strategy that we talked about. That one is basically, you avoiding the fact that there's a problem and trying to actually live in denial of that. There is also the cognitive coping mechanism. And in that one, what you want to do in that one is change the way you think, so that when you change the way you think, then you ultimately be able to deal with, of course, once any change occurs, it will affect every other part of our life. So you change the way you think, you have a changed feeling, and you have a changed behavior. So we also have the behavioral coping mechanism. The same goes like cognitive. That one is, it's a coping mechanism to change your behavior. If you change your behavior, a lot of other things will fall into place. We have the conversion mechanism, and that one is change or transform the problem from what it is to something else. So you just want to convert it from what it is to something else. We have the defense mechanism that we learned from in Sigmund Freud, and that is we all know this one well, and we do it. We have all forms of kinds of defense mechanism that we put up when we are faced with life situations. Some people is just building wall around yourself and people can't get through to you. Why do you do that? Because maybe you have been hurt before, you don't want it to happen again. So you just build a wall around yourself, and it's a form of defense mechanism that we can use. Now, I just want to talk about the minimal things. Is a technique, and I call it relaxation techniques. So in times like this, when we are, how do we keep up in challenging times like this? It's very challenging. People under tension, people are under pressure. This is not the time to play unnecessarily with people. We read in the newspapers every day, people driving, they put their head on their steering and they're already gone. Because they are facing so much challenges. This is not the time to jokingly push somebody. You might push somebody and the person is falling down and dying. There are other similar, there are other less major form of ways that we can use to cope with situations that we find ourselves. If we find yourself in a situation, like I said, first thing, prioritize what is the best. What do I want to lift up, see go? If it goes that will make me feel better, because you cannot, like we said, choose your battles. You can't fight so many battles at the same. Don't put too much on the plate of your mind. The mind, when the mind is sick, the whole body is sick. And we said that the health of the mind is the key job of the counselor. So what other simpler relaxation techniques can we use even to help ourselves in, these trying times? Because sometimes it's like your head wants to just bust open. Somebody who has just lost their job, money is not coming in, the wife is demanding money, there's school fees there's lights to pay bill, the rent is just up, they don't know how to do it. What are you going to do? Except for magic. So just do basic things. Why? To at least keep your sanity intact, keep your health intact. And once you know that you are sane, you are well, you're able to certainly now deal, more rationally with the situation at hand. Okay, so let's just look at the other relaxation techniques that we can use. Number one that we know All time meditating, all time meditating. If you take time out to meditate, it does help a lot. It does help a lot. Helps to clear your mind of, the stress that you're going through and the issues that you are facing. When you meditate, gives you a clearer mind to be able to deal with the situation appropriately and not in an irrational situation. All these challenges that I'm saying, there are lots. Sometimes just one person is facing like 6, 7 times. You have all plus all that I said, imagine now a loss. You now have a loss to it. Maybe your mom just passed or your dad. Some people can't take it. All they do, they just think of, suicide, end it all up, because it's just too much for them to take all at the same time. So, but pure little things like meditation can actually help you clear your mind and put things in proper perspective, so that you can begin to think rationally instead of an irrational way of thinking. Another way that another technique that can help you a lot is exercise, especially aerobics. It's amazing what exercise does to us. Exercise is good for the mind. Exercise is good for the whole body. It makes your blood move and it makes your mind clearer because your body is well oxygenated. So exercise, as easy as it sounds, I know it's difficult for us to get to do it, but if you get to do it, it clears your mind. All that we are about as counselors is a clear mind. The health of our mind is very important to us. So exercising is very, very good technique to use in times like this. Massage is another one. Massage is another one. And this is not only for ladies, men as well, find time out, just find a few hours, spend in the spa, take your mind off everything, relax, let's have a good massage. And why massage is also good is similar to exercise. It moves around the blood in your body and makes your body, well oxygenated as well. Stretching is also another form that we can use. Stretching. You stretch your muscles. Sometimes, we talked about all going through all these situations, puts you under pressure, puts you under tension, and you find out your muscles begins to tense up. And that's why we do things like this. You say, that's that tension point, and we squeeze it and we squeeze it and we feel better after doing that. So stretching is also good as a relaxation technique. We can get a book and we read. When you read a book and you are really into it, takes your mind off all of what you're going through at the time, and it refreshes and clears your brain, and you can think straight. After some time, you can decide to watch a movie, you can decide to go to the cinema, you can decide to even watch television, but just don't get engrossed or addicted to it. You can decide to talk to a loved one, a trusted one, and you can even decide to talk to God. And you find out that, doing all of this, after a while, you feel relaxed and you have a healthier mind even to deal with all that we have facing us in these challenging times. So this brings me to the end of today's chat. So let's go to the questions if there are any.
Thank you very much, Ma. Thank you very much for a well-explained topic. So is there any other question, or addition? And probably you have something to say. Anybody?
Please, if we have many questions, if you have additions, experiences that we know that we can all share, please just unmute and please speak. We would like to hear your additions to these questions. Do we have clients that are in similar situations?
Hello, Ma. Good evening, Ma. Thank you very much. Very, very insightful once again. Always enjoy your lectures. So in my office, usually every year we have bonuses that are given to us, and what happens is that we have big plans for those bonuses. You know, we think about projects, we think about, okay, there are school fees that we can pay for a year. We don't have to worry ourselves anymore. But they announced to us that because of COVID-19 and because they couldn't, they couldn't produce as much as they could, you know, as much as they used to, that we can't get that. That's a big blow, to be honest. And everybody's just looking at thinking. And they said we should be glad that our salaries weren't even cut, because there are other companies that people had to have their salaries cut by half, and some people had to leave. If a colleague of mine just called me yesterday to say that she had gotten a letter to leave by the end of this month, and it is for real. She wasn't expecting it at all. She just had a baby and came back, and I think she's the only, she has the earning power at home. So it's a big deal, and it's happening all around us. So what you're saying is really true. And if we are not careful, it can lead to some level of insanity. Thank you.
You're welcome, ma. That is, thank you for the contribution. That is very, very true. And you know, like you said, you know, she's the one that has the earning power at home. And you know, for women, I don't know, somebody will say it because women have the ability to bring forth. That's why we are so strong. For men, it's not that easy. So for a man, you know, for a man's relevance hinges on his ability to I don't want to put it that way, but ability to make money or ability to be successful. That's what, you know, takes a man. So when that is not happening in a home, it's going to affect everything, relationship, our home, and everything. So this happening to the woman is also another thing. But despite all of that, you know, there's the adage that says when there's life, there's hope. The things that are happening now can all be eroded tomorrow, and it's another sunny, bright day. So we need, you know, our jobs as counselors is to help to keep people in the right man. I trust you, Ms. Evelyn. I know your capacity. So please help the person keep her mind. You know, once her mind is kept, then certainly every other thing will fall in place. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Welcome. Any other experiences, contribution, questions, please? I'm sure we have so many experiences and we have seen a lot of things.
Hello.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, can I make a contribution?
You can.
Okay. Mine is just to say that you talked about the power of the mind. There is always need to look at the positive aspect of things. If you convince yourself that it's not as bad as you think, it's already a coping mechanism. Because when you are in a difficult situation, human tendency is for you to see the negatives. If only you would take time, no matter how little. It's not easy, but that's why life is a battle, for you to look at the positive sides and realize that if you pick 10 of your colleagues from secondary school and where you are, you will be shocked the level of progress you have made, and that you are not the worst in the world. It's when we fail to see the positive sides of things. For those of us who I am a preacher, I am a minister of the gospel. A songwriter says, count your blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord has done. That is just to bring home that message, that we look at the positive side of things, because the power of the mind, when you convince yourself that it's not really as bad as I think, is going to energize you in the process of coping with whatever situation you find yourself.
Thank
Just
you
my
very much. So we can add another coping strategy, and that's the praise strategy, being thankful strategy, or looking inward strategy, whatever we want to call it. And that's the truth of the matter. There is a way that, everything is going on in our lives and just one thing is not going on right. And all our focus is on that thing that is not going on right. Meanwhile, we have so many things that are not going on right. There are people that are of our age, they are not married, they don't have children, they don't have a home, they haven't built, they don't have a car. So what do? There are some people who you probably went to school with long time ago. Maybe most of us are in Lagos now, and so we went to federal government college schools somewhere else around the nation. And they are still in that village, they have not even left. So I like that one, not being overly spiritual. That's very true. Even if we look at it on the moral level, just sit down and begin to write, that you're even alive at this age. It's a blessing, and you know that because you are here, things can over time. Thank you. Okay. Who wants to also add to what we have here?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Good evening, this is Bolo Atfe. Okay, so I just wanted to add this. I think sometimes, based on what the last speaker said, from time to time we should count our blessings. And if we look at the lives of some other people around us, it doesn't seem like things are going well for them. Now, on the flip side, sometimes you are the person on the other end and things are not going well for you. And to cope, I've found for myself, I don't know if it works for some other people, but for sometimes when I see that I'm not in the best shape of my life, I look for someone to comfort. I look for someone to reach out to, someone to be a blessing to, someone that I can encourage that things will be better, just so that in that moment, I'm coping. I'm telling myself in my head that, okay, it's going to be better. This is not the end. It's going to be better. I don't know if it works for other people like that, but I think it's a coping mechanism, and I think it's a productive one as well.
Thank you. That's, trying to sow a seed for what you want to reap. And the thing about finding someone to do good stuff to is that it makes you happy for every one of us. I'm sure if you have not been noticing up to now, please just notice. Every time you wrap a gift and you give it to somebody and the person is excited, if there's something it does to you, you are happy. Every time you hand out maybe a pack of food, you have done maybe little rice, little beans, whatever, and you hand it over to somebody, you are happy. It's like a form of therapy even to man itself, So you do something good, you are happy. You are happy, the person you are doing it for is happy. So because it lifts up your feeling, because feeling of being happy, happiness is a form of feeling, is a form of emotion display. So it gives you the feeling of joy when you are doing something that before you know it, it takes you obviously off any negative thoughts that you have for yourself. And of course, it is also a seed. You want something, you have, deposited that in that person. In a short time, you get that thing back in double fold. And of course, the intent with which you did it, of course, our creator does know that, and he will sort even you out because you already sorted somebody out. Thanks for that contribution. Okay. Is there anybody else?
Can I make a contribution?
Yes, sir, you can.
Okay, good evening. I came late for the lecture, but I got a lot of parts. And that's the part about to relax our mind, things we could do. And they're very valid, very valid. I love the part of the stretching. Thank you so much for that. I just remember a couple of things about the mind, and based on what contribution we've all made so far. Remember, in neuroscience, it is established that 70% of our daily thoughts are negative. by default every day. 70% of the thought that runs through our mind are negative. So even if you have a good day, you've had more negatives running through your mind. And it's also established that we have over 15 million bits of information that passes through our mind on a daily basis. So the need and the essence to be mindful of information we focus on. And you know, the dynamics of our conscious mind to our unconscious mind is that, you know, our conscious mind takes just 10% and our subconscious takes about 90%. And what determines our bodily feeling is the conscious mind, what dominates the conscious mind, that 10%. So even when we have 70% of our thoughts to be negative, and what determines our bodily feelings is what dominates our conscious mind. It means that a lot of times every day as we wake up every morning, if we are not careful and conscious, we are set up by default to have a negative day because the statistics against us are always hard. And that's why life must not be lived by chance, it must be lived by deliberate care. Care of what you see with your sight, care of what you hear with your hearing, care of what you feel, of everything around you. If you leave it to chance, you will not live too good. So we have to be careful the things we hear because our conscious mind determines. I mean, I was just a video this morning, which I intend to post tomorrow, that talks about why we sad. When you complain, I feel sad, I feel unhappy, I feel this and that. And I say that it's not a rocket science what you are feeling. You are feeling what you are feeling because your conscious mind is dominating. Whatever you have in your conscious mind is what you're going to have in your bodily feeling. So to change how you are feeling is to change what you have in your conscious mind. You know, so for us to have a sane day, a sane week, a sane year, and a sane life, let's be mindful of the things we are allowed to stay in our conscious mind. And whenever we find out that we have those negative in dominant kind in our minds, we could practice all the things that we've learned this evening so that we could always change the energy and have the right energy in our minds. I think that's just what I just feel like adding to what has been shared this evening.
Thank you very much. That is
Thank
very good addition. You know, what you just said is something that is, a lot of people are practicing it. You know, so you wake up in the morning. What he said is very true. Do you know that just running? I was driving a few days back, and I just thought to myself, what if somebody rammed behind my back? You know, and that thought had come severally before that, you know, and it did happen. So there's a way how our thoughts draw those energy, whether negative energy or positive energy to us. So when it did happen a few days, like we said, coping is, you know, consciously putting effort to change whatever we are being faced with. So I, you know, consciously took the thought out of my mind. So that's why some people now practice words of affirmation. So you wake up in the morning and you tell yourself certain things just to negate all those things that are already facing you. Another thing that he said that is because I heard it on CNN, is that, you know, when COVID was much around in fact, like 18 hours of the day, they are talking about COVID every time. So what you hear, what you see affects you. Our eye gate must be guarded so that we don't see things that are negative. Because once we see it, it will begin to have an effect on us. Our ear gate also must be guarded so that the things that we hear are constructive things. And these things are very true. You know that as little as somebody play music or sings a song by your side, you will know that in another few minutes, you're already humming that song. That's how powerful these things are. So thank you very much, sir, for that contribution. So let us also guard our eye gates, the things we see, the things we hear, let us be careful. It's not all news that we embed ourselves with. Before you know it, there's so many bad news going around, and it has a way of, saddening the heart and affecting our mind. Then before you know it, you are joining them to say, this Nigeria self, yeah, something. This same Nigeria, a lot of people are really doing good. So let us join to say that the good of the land, we will benefit from it. We are citizens of Nigeria, and we ought to benefit from the good of the land. So thank you for that contribution, sir. I really do appreciate it. Okay. Do we have any more questions? Do we have questions? Do we have additions? Okay.
Okay. In the absence of no other question, I think there's no other question. Everybody quite had a very, very lovely evening today, because I can see so many comments here, and everybody are kind of like, this is very insightful. So this is before we go, let me remind everybody that this is the Institute of Counseling. We have our diploma programs running, our certification program, advanced certificate, and everything currently running. You could actually refer to people. Our websites are instituteofcounseling.org for inquiries. So without saying much, counselors, we'll have to do this again next week. See everybody next week. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contributions. Thank you for listening. We'll see ourselves by God's grace. Have a blessed week.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. God bless you. Mr. Ro, appreciate you, ma. God bless you, ma. Thank you for that insightful talk. We appreciate you so much, ma. And counselors, God bless you. Do a pleasant week ahead. Remember, the September classes are up already. We're looking forward to people to get on board and be professionally certified. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
So, Emmanuel, you can end the meeting, please. Emmanuel, are you there?
Oh, hello, Mr. I had network issues. Let me end the meeting. Sorry, bro.
You can end the meeting now, please.